Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Precious Metal Summit in Zurich. And it's my honor and pleasure to talk now to Vizsla Copper. And we have here Craig Parry, the Executive Chairman. Good morning, Craig. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Jochen. It's been a while.
Oh,
Wonderful
Jesus
to be
Christ.
back with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a good 3.5 years. I think we met the last time PDAC 2020, just before Corona came, and then everything was off. But the good thing is, copper is hot. Copper looks great despite the market price, but I think we are approaching very soon here again a big deficit, and also for the next years. So you are in the right business. You go for copper exploration. Please give us a short overview on the company.
Well, given we're at the Precious Metal Summit, we have copper, of course, in Vizsla Copper, and we're trying to build up more pounds as quickly as we can. But we also have a heck of a lot of gold, over 1 million ounces at the moment, and more coming off the back of our recent gold drill program. So, copper and gold, which is a great place to be. Copper, I've never seen a better setup for a metal ever in my life. A little bit like, when I joined Rio Tinto in 1999, the copper price was 72 cents. It then went to about $4.60, $4.70. We see the same dynamics playing out here over the next 5 years. I think we're going to see $20 or $30 per pound copper. Certainly there's recent precedent for that. The copper price went up 5.5, 6 times in that last market. And the same dynamics played out there to some extent. 30% change in demand was enough to drive the price up 5 to 6 times. So I think we'll see the same thing this time around, although this time around, much more challenged supply side, not much drilling, exploration and permitting's been done. It's now much harder to permit a project. It's more expensive to permit a project. If you listen to Trafigura, we're going to need $150 billion of investment in copper projects globally over the next 5 years to keep up with that.
5 years.
Demand next 5 years. Where's that going to come from? Well, firstly, where's the copper going to come from?
Exactly.
I don't see the projects.
Where are the mines?
It's extraordinary. So I think we're going to have just a golden period. It'll be the biggest resource boom in all of history. The last one was pretty good. This is the main event coming up. So you want to be long copper, and that's why we're at Vizsla Copper putting our foot on as much copper as we can and drilling out as much copper as we can.
Okay, fantastic. I see it the same way. I think next year is definitely the start of the new commodity super cycle. Totally with you. But can we still afford a $30 copper per pound? Can we still afford an electric car then?
Look, that's a great question. I think we absolutely can. The thing we probably can't afford is the grid. And that's where you're going to see the step changes in demand come from. If you look at the average Vancouver city block where I live, it can host a handful of EVs. If every house on a city block in Vancouver wants an EV, we're going to have to see complete replacement of the grid, and that's when you're going to start seeing massive new copper demand come on stream over the next 5 or 6 years, and that's coming, I think, absolutely. Car's not too bad, there's sort of double the amount of copper in an electric car. But the important thing about copper, if you look around us here, we're surrounded by it. It's copper.
Even this year, exactly.
We need a lot more of it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's come to your company, to your project. I think it's called Woodjam.
Woodjam.
Is that correct? Yep. And I saw you had already a lot of drilling and a lot of money was spent by Gold Fields. So how did you come on the project, and what is the plan now to really move that forward?
Look, it's a bit of a sort of mythical, legendary project in British Columbia. Bill Morton and the team there at Consolidated Woodjam have had it for over 25 years. With Goldfields' help, Goldfields actually spent $30 million on it, and up until 2013, it was their second most important exploration project globally. So big spend. They proved up a lot of copper, 1.7 billion pounds there, about 1 million ounces of gold.
That's
already in the ground. So we acquired
that historic resource?
That's historic resource. We acquired it last year for $11 million total consideration. So that's a heck of a lot. In-ground value over $10 billion worth of metal for $11 million is pretty good buying. You can't go
I think it's a bargain, yeah.
Yeah, and then we've, since that time, Bill and the team have drilled about 20 drill holes on the property. That's never been factored into the resource base. They had some spectacular high-grade drill hits in there, 210 metres at 2.5 grams gold, 0.5% copper. So, and that's something about British Columbia. We get a bit of a bad rap for having low-grade porphyry systems. These things are actually higher grade than anyone noticed. I think, if you apply very good geology and better resource work and understanding your ore body better, ore body knowledge as we call it, you find that there are zones within these things that are very, very high grade. So we're looking at pulling those out. We just completed an 18-hole program, 8,000 metres. We're waiting on assays to come back from the final 10 holes there.
When will they release?
Over the next couple of weeks, we think.
So Christmas present.
Bit of a Christmas present,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. We had the initial results from our southeast deposit. There's 6 or 7 known porphyry centres there. We did a mag survey actually back in March, and the results were extraordinary. We came up with 102 discrete mag targets, any one of which could be a porphyry centre. So it looks like a cluster of porphyries.
Mm-hmm.
So we're excited to test those, but the low-hanging fruit's to drill in and around those high-grade hits and look to understand and expand those high-grade zones. I think our best drill result from the first couple of holes was 100 metres at 0.6, and within that was 66 metres at 0.9% copper equivalent. So
and
really
that's surface already?
Pretty close to surface.
Close to surface.
Yeah. That was a little bit deeper, but megabuck outcrops, you can see the porphyry mineralisation on the ground. So plenty of good results. We'll then sort of take a little bit of time to consider what we do next. We might not, given sort of the market and market's reaction to things at the moment. Investors are treating any good news as a liquidity event still, unfortunately. Yeah. But we'll update the resource base and, as I say, look to do some good geological work and resource work and pull out those high-grade zones and understand those better. Because at the moment we have about 32 million tonnes at 0.7% copper equivalent. So you're getting there towards a project that you might build. Particularly when copper goes, above $5 and beyond, then you've got a project. But I'd love to see us prove up 50 to 100 million tonnes at that sort of 0.7+% grade, and then go on and advance projects. And as you know, we love to move projects through each stage of development and on into production, which is what we're looking at doing. You see that in some of my other companies that I'm involved with, Skeena Resources, of course, where I've been chairman until recently. We're looking at building that Esco Creek mine. Vizsla Silver, our flagship in the Inventor Group. Our Panuco project, we've drilled out a huge high-grade silver resource there in Mexico, continuing to drill, and we're looking to bring that into production over the next few years as well. So, and that's what we'd love to do. It's a bit of a niche I haven't scratched, building a mid-tier copper producer. So that's my stretch target for the next 5 to 10 years.
Super, I like that. And this world needs the copper, definitely.
100%.
What is cash in the bank? Are you financed for next year? Because we both know those markets are, let's say, shaky at least, not to say horrible. No. And the financing window is quite narrow. So is it okay?
Yeah, not too bad. Well, look, we were very fortunate back in March. We raised $6 million. We contributed heavily ourselves. I think the Inventor Group put in about $2 million. I wrote a big check for that one. So we'll continue to do that. We've got a bit over $2 million in the bank now, $1 million of which is flow through. So we'll have to spend that next year. So not a huge cash balance there, but plenty to get us through well into the back end of next year, which is important because I think things will start picking up around there, particularly in the precious metals. I'll be talking more about Vizsla Copper being more gold focused at that point in time, because I think we're going to see, as US cuts interest rates and the dollar starts to fall off, we're going to see much higher precious metals prices, particularly gold. Being able to finance off the back of a large gold and growing gold resource will be important for us. But copper's where it's at, I think, by the back end of next year and on into 2025, you're going to see, copper prices really rise very, very strongly, very quickly. So you want to be set now.
Yeah, that's right.
Buy a VCU today.
Exactly. Yeah, and buy it cheap, of course. So the target is by the end of the decade to be in production with copper and gold. Is that maybe something we can say?
That would be the target, 100%. Look, we're out there. We're seeing other bargains out there. We'll continue to sort of weigh in and try and buy other projects, because I think you look at the cost of drilling out that resource base that we've got there. Goldfield spent over $30 million. It's probably $36 million spent on the project to date. We bought it for $11 million. There's a lot of that around. So we'll continue to look at acquisitions where they make sense as well.
Super. Who else is a shareholder or large shareholder in the company aside of the Inventor Group and yourself?
Good question. It's interesting. We, at the stage we're at, I suppose, sort of advanced exploration is probably the stage. Normally you'd have a fairly retail heavy investor base. Because we started Vizsla Copper as a spin out of Vizsla Silver, we already had a fairly solid institutional shareholder base in Vizsla Silver, so they got that stock in specie distributed. So you've got Franklin Templeton, Steve Land there. We met with him at Beaver Creek at the Precious Metal Summit. Good supportive shareholder. You've got Goldfields, of course. Goldfields converted their project level interest into stock in the company, so they're at about 7% shareholding. And then all of the Inventor Group, my team, Mike Connett, myself are big investors, and Dave Schmidt, I should say, are big investors
really?
in.
I know him. Okay, great.
Yep. So we're all very supportive and continue to write big checks for it.
Okay, perfect. Then we look really forward to next year, because it sounds like we can await this year for some good news, and next year you really move it, because as you said, you have to spend the 1 million flow through.
Yeah, exactly. So plenty of news to come, that's for sure. Yeah.
Super, perfect, Craig. Thank you very much. All the best.
Good on you, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there was Craig Parry, the Executive Chairman of Vizsla Copper, and you heard it. Copper is really in the high plate. The market has not reacted really and does not see it by now. Copper price this morning is still $3.65 per pound. So Craig has a target of 30. I like ambition targets. Even my target is 8 to 9. I thought I'm high. But I like the vision, and the vision is absolutely correct, because the next 5 to 10 years, we need massive amounts of copper, and we all have no idea from where this should come. Maybe, and hopefully, Vizsla Copper will be the next copper producer by the end of the decade, because this is what time is needed to really develop such projects. And it looks fantastic. They have already a fantastic base where they can build on. And don't forget, drill results will come before Christmas, and also next year we'll be very busy. Really check out Vizsla Copper. Make sure you get some. And wish you well. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Zurich.